Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts, and I'm back with a tutorial today for you to make a masculine make. So we've touched on these several times on the channel, and I have a birthday at the weekend. It's my son-in-law's birthday, and I thought, right, we'll do the card and we'll sort of recreate this to show you how I've made it. So I've got a combination of background paper and an inked panel on this one, and I'm going to show you how, mainly concentrate on how I've done the inked panel here. So I've used some dies to make it look like a piece that's torn from a book. I've inlaid the letters so that there is some texture here. I don't know whether that's picking that up on the camera or not, but you could just stick the letters on top, but I actually die cut them into the piece there, and then we've just got a little bit of stamping going on as well. So decoration, I've got some washi tape and I've got some die cut cogs. And I apologise if you can hear the dripping. For some reason, it's brilliant sunshine outside and something's just started dripping on the roof. Not quite sure what's going off up there, so apologies if you can hear that in the background. It is the conservatory roof, so it does tend to make a bit of noise. So yeah, this is what we're going to make, and then I've got the insert ready to pop in this one for him. So that I can pass him this on his birthday. So I've used craft card to make my card base. I just thought that went in lovely with the colour scheme. And I've used a trio of inks, which were from, I've used the background paper as an inspiration. So I picked a light one, and I've gone for antique linen. Then there was a little bit of grey in here, so I've gone for the hickory smoke. And then I wanted to put a bit of brown in as well as a nod to the craft card. So I've gone for scorched timber with that one. I've not got a label on this one at the minute. So yeah, those are the three inks that I'm going to be using. And we're going to create that panel and get that going first. And then I've prepared the matte layers for the background. And we've got some decoration to go on there as well. So let's have a little look then. First of all, I'm going to bring in my mat. In fact, no, we'll do a bit of die cutting first. We'll actually pop those edges on. Let me show you those. Those are from an old Crafter's Companion collection again called, let me just have a look there. It was the Vintage Diary. And there are a couple of lovely edges that create this, this panel. So what I've done is I've got a piece of cardstock that measures, this is actually slightly bigger. It's 5 inches by 4. Now I want the height of it to be 4, but I'm going to cut into this and it wants to be roughly 4 by 4-ish square. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to pop the piece that looks as if it's torn from a notebook along this edge here, and I've just made myself some little marks to mark out that 4-inch gap here. I've got some scraps of tape left on the edge of my desk, and I'm just going to line this up here. Try and get it as centered as I can with the actual design, and then we will stick that onto this edge, and then I'm going to pass these through my die cutting machine. And then this one, again, it just looks as if you've torn that leaf out of the book. So I've got one piece of tape. I just need to grab a second piece of tape for this one. This is just my low tack tape. Excuse me. And again, I've got a couple of little lines just to guide me as to whereabouts roughly I want the edge there, and then I'm going to tape it into that piece that I know is going to be cut away. Okay, so we'll come back to the other dies in a second. So the first pass through the machine is going to be those 2 edges. So I've got my plates at the ready here, and I'm just going to pop this on. I use a large Gemini, the original Gemini, but more often than not I use the junior plates wherever the dies will allow. So I'm just going to pass that through and cut those edges, and then we can look at popping the letters in there to create that beginning of the greeting. So we take those away again, and it creates a really nice sort of piece that you can sort of imagine just being torn out of a notebook. So let's just get rid of those bits of tape now, and we'll put those to one side. I'll put those back up on my magnet here. It keeps everything safe. And then we've got the same at this side. Get rid of those now. And then we've got that panel good to go here. So let's just move the plates for a second, and then we're going to start and think about that inlay. But I'm going to do the inking first because I don't want to sort of snag the aperture. So we'll ink the piece up and then I'll cut it out, and I'll explain why I've done it in that order. Now what I want to do, because I've actually gone taller than here, I'm just going to use my corner rounder and just these little angled corners here. And again, it's just me being very picky, but I just think it gives it a nice finished look, and the actual die has got a rounded corner on those edges. So there we go. So we can bring our trio of inks in now, and I have got my blending brushes to match the 3 inks. Let me just take their covers off. So we've got one for the brown, one for the grey, and one for the antique linen. And I'm going to start with the antique linen because it's the lightest colour. We'll pop those to one side. I'm going to bring in my little ink stand there. Oh dear, that's something else gone by the by. And pop that in here. And then I'm just going to apply some areas of lighter colour first. So working those trios. So we're literally going to come in this top corner, and these are my Oxide inks again, which blend beautifully. And I've just got a piece of smooth white cardstock that I've die cut into. But doing the die cutting first, you get all the edges inked nicely. Now I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap card or paper. Let me see what I've got knocking about. That will do. Just to hold on to here with, so that I don't transfer any fingerprints. So I'm going to bring a second one from the bottom here, and then we're going to have a third one down this edge over the where the leaves torn, where the page leaves torn out. And I will come back and do these and blend them as we go along, but basically just applying those colours to get us started. So that's the antique linen. Then we're going to bring in some hickory smoke. So we'll get that one next and swap the brush out for that grey one. Okay, so this is a little bit darker colour, so I'm just going to dab some of that off to start with. But I want to bring some, and it's a nice warm grey, the hickory smoke, so it blends in nicely with the other two colours. And again, I don't want it too dark. And then we're going to bring a little bit in this corner. And again, just creating that sort of, not a rule, but that, you know, I want to call it the rule of thirds. Put a little bit in the middle here so that we've got those 3 areas with the grey. And then I will come back over them and blend them all together once we've got that colour laid down. And then my third colour was Scorched Timber, one of my favourite browns, I must admit. It's one of the newer releases, but I love the tone of this colour. And again, we're going to bring this in and just join up those gaps there. So we've got one there. We've got a gap left in the middle. And don't worry if it, you know, you think, well, it looks a bit blotchy yet. It does all blend in when you've done the finishing touches. And I'm going to add some water splats to it as well. So, and then just for my third bit, let's just take a little bit over the grey in this corner so that we've got a nod to that third with the brown. And then I'm going to go back through the colours again. So I'm going to go back to the grey, not particularly loading up the brush again, but I want to just work over where the grey meets the brown and just blend those edges, and you can see how it all starts to smooth out. And then I'm going to take my yellow brush again for the antique linen, and again I'm not putting any extra on. I'm just going to work those edges where they joined to that first piece of colour that we laid down. So pushing back into the other colours. And you can see how those, you can see the difference between more of a harsh line here to those lovely soft blended colours just by coming, and it doesn't pick up too much of the ink. And again, I can just clean this off on a cloth before I use it for that lighter colour again. So all I do is usually just the cloth that I use for cleaning up with, just give it a good scrub on there, and it takes off any colour that you may have picked up from the darker shades. So that's my panel there ready. We can pop that now to one side. We've finished with the little brushes there. We can put those away. And we've got that pretty much good to go, but I just wanted to add some water splats to it as well, because the oxides are so reactive. I'm just going to find, I did have, I'm not sure what I've done with it. I've got a piece here. We'll use the roll. So I'm going to put some water on my mat there and get my fan brush sort of quite wet. Tap off any excess, and then I'm going to go over the whole thing and give it a bit of a splatter there. And again, just take off any excess water. The cloth comes in for everything, and then it literally just goes in the wash when I get to a point where it looks as if it's had enough. Again, clean everything up. We're finished with the mat now. I don't think we need that. I'll just dab off that water now, and again I just use my roll there, roll it across, and you can see that lovely kind of mottled effect from the water. Love it. And then this will dry back. It won't be quite as sort of, what's the, saturated is probably the word I'm looking for. If you look at the one on the card, it does dry back. It sort of fades as it dries. Even the little spots as they dry out fade that little bit. So you can see this one looks quite dark and quite intense at the minute, but it does fade back as it dries and it smooths out. So what we're going to do now is I'm just gently going to give it a quick blast with the heat tool, because I want to die cut, and I just want to make sure that that water's not wet as such. It's okay if it's damp, but I think we're okay there. And then I've got the letters ready to spell the word happy from one of my many alphabet dies. So whatever you've got handy, you know, it doesn't matter what sort of font they're in really for this particular method. And then we're going to need some tape again. So let me just get some little pieces of tape ready. And I'm going to cut 3 of the letters first, and then pop it through again with the remaining 2, obviously because we've got the P duplicated. So we're going to pop the H in, lay these out roughly where I want them to go. We've got H, A, another P, and I want them all higgledy-piggledy and wonky. I didn't want them all in a straight line. It just added to the style of the card. So yeah, I think the H can go at an angle there, like so. I'm going to take the A out of the way and bring the P a little bit lower down for this one here, making sure that I've still got room to fit that one in. Yep. And then the Y is going to go higher up again, like so. And then I'm going to pass that through the machine once. So we'll pop that back on my plates here. And for those of you that have picked this up, I know 1 or 2 people have commented on this. This is not the original plate for this particular platform. Normally you would have the plastic shim in here. This is actually one of the double-sided plates that Crafters Companion made and patented for the double-sided dies. But my Gemini, even though I've had it years now, it's one of the original Geminis. It's very, very keen. And if I'm just cutting out sort of what I call outline dies that are not really sort of fussy or intricate, I find that this combination is more than enough for me to get a good cut. If I've got something that's a bit more tricky or it's more intricate, there's lots more cutting spaces, I will swap this one out for my plastic shim that came with the actual plate. So yeah, this is my chosen combo and it works absolutely fine in my particular machine here. So I'm just going to pop back and pass that through to cut those first 3 letters. And then we will bring them back like so. I'm just going to get one of my little trays that are handy because I need to keep the bits out of the middle of the letters. I don't want to lose those. So yeah, let me just move that out of the way for a minute and release these three just really carefully because I don't want to damage that inked panel. So just being gentle with the and that one I don't need the H, but what we can do now, let's just take the P away so that we can see that one and the Y. Just nice and gentle because the pressure can sometimes just snag the top of the card. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to slot the A in there as well and take that one down. And then we just want this one, we need to pop the letter out of here, and I want to keep that little bit, and that's what I'm going to put in here because we're going to put that one back in place. All right, so I will take the letter out because I'm going to use it as a positioner. And this is why I said I'd come back to why I was doing the inking first, because I wanted this bit to fit back in with the design. So that's number one done. And then we need the die again there, Jan. Don't put that one away. To pop in here. And we just need to pass through one more time then with that same plate combination, and we've got all our die cutting done then to carry on. So I'm just going to run that through the machine, cut those last two letters, and then we're pretty much good to get cracking. So again, just release those out of there, take my piece out, we're finished with those for now. And then we can take these ones off nice and gently as well. And again, I need to keep the little piece out of the A. So that was the first P. This one is the insert out of the A. So I'm going to pop them in here so that I don't lose them. And we're also going to need that A as a positioner. And you've also got a nice set of coloured letters that you could use. You know, you could make a second card with these then and do them the other way around. And then we need to get rid of the P. And again, I want that middle piece out of there, so that's the third one. And then when we put it back together, you can see that it looks, you know, the colours correspond, and it's going to look as if it's all been done from that one piece. If I'd have done the inking afterwards, after I'd die cut, then I'd have to sort of mess about trying to get these little pieces in the right place. Okie doke, so that's the letters done. I want to do a little bit of stamping on it first. We're going to pop the birthday sentiment on. So I'm going to bring my stamping platform out. Let's just put those to one side. And I'm going to pop it in here, like so. And then I've got, again, a very, very old, I love this. I've no idea where this came from. I had this working for Crafters Companion, which I started in 2016, so nearly 10 years ago. So yeah, I've had this one a very long time, but I like the way that it's done. And for that such a quirky sentiment, it just fit the bill perfectly. So all I'm going to do is pop that along underneath here, just making sure that it's running parallel with the bottom. And then I'm going to use my nice black VersaFine Clair ink, which is a really nice solid black. We're going to ink it up once, close the door and check what that looks like. And I probably, yeah, I'm going to do it a second time just because we can. And then I went to all the trouble of saving those little pieces, and I've just knocked the pot now that had them in with the door from the Misty. So we'll sort that out in a second. But yeah, I'm just going to pop that on here. And we've got that nice intensity of the ink then. So I'll sort that out later. And we've got this piece good to go. So yeah, well done, Jan. I got these all nicely in order so that I knew what I wanted them. And now we've flipped the thing. So here we go. We've got one. Fortunately, they didn't all fly out all over the place. So we've still got them. We're good. Right. Next job then. Now, originally, I wanted to look at my original thought with this is that we were going to look at the paper through here. So let me just bring in the other components. I've got my card blank, and I've made this from a couple of pieces of A4 cardstock. It's 6 3/4 square, which will fit nicely in a shop bought 7-inch square envelope, which was the thinking. So it's actually deconstructed. I've got 2 pieces that I've stuck together to make my card, because I can't get one this big out of a piece of A4. And then I've created my mat layer. I've got a piece of black card that is 6 by 6. And then my pattern papers were 6 by 6, which I've just cut down a fraction here. It'll be 5 3/4 square. And this is going to be my mat layer. And originally the plan was to sort of see this, and it just didn't work. Wasn't happy with it. It wasn't showing off the lettering. If you look at that compared to that one, there's no competition whatsoever. So all I did, now somewhere, and I don't know, oh, it's here. I'm going to say I actually popped a piece of black card to one side. I've got a little piece of black card that we're going to put in the background here, which just lifts it slightly. Now over my paper, just to add a bit more interest, I've got a couple of rolls of washi tape. So I've just popped a vertical one, and then this one's got loads of different postage marks on, horizontal, just to add a bit more interest to the paper there. And we can get this one stuck down, because I'm not going to add anything else to that one that needs to be fastened to it. We're going to decorate it with those cogs, so we can use the all-purpose. And I'm going to give it quite a good liberal coating of the glue, because the craft card is quite fibrous. It soaks up. It's a very thirsty type of cardstock. So I'm going to pop plenty on the back there and get that one nestled with that. And I've left that nice wide border on this one. I just wanted that almost like a frame around it. So that's going to be the background. And while that's drying, we'll just pop the block on there to get that drying flat. I'm going to pop this on the back of here. So I've got a little piece of black that we're going to pop around here, and I am going to use my sort of precision tip for this one. I'm going to go round the letters with my embellishment glue to make sure that the whole thing is stuck down. I don't want any bits that are going to catch. So just outlining the letters with that glue there. And then I'm going to pop a little bit around the edge of here, and then this one I've just cut to fit over the back line, as long as it covers the letters. Yep, we're okay there. So I've just got a little bit of glue in there, which does dry clear, but we'll just take that there we go. And that's where those little pieces come in handy now. So I've got those at the ready, and I'm going to use my letters as a guide. So I'm going to pop this one. Let's do this one first, because that little bit of glue's in the way there. So yeah, this is the one that came out of here. And then I'm going to pop a little bit of glue in the middle, and then take the corresponding centre and pop that back in. Then we can do the same with the A. And again, just a little dab of glue in there for that tiny little triangle that needs to go in there. And now all the pattern matches up perfectly. And then that third one in there, a little bit of the embellishment glue, and then that one can go in there as well. Whoops. And then we can release the letters. So I'm just going to use my craft pick there to pop those back out. We don't actually need the letters. So there was no glue underneath those, so they're just going to pop back out nicely. And you've got the right position then for all those little centres. So I'm just going to put the others all in there so that they don't get lost. And we've got our sort of piece at the ready. And then for the final touch on there, I'm just going to flip it over, and we're going to put some tape on the back of here again. So again, I'm just going to take a length off my roll. This is actually sticks to adhesive, and it's just a 1mm It's my go-to. I only buy the 1mm. If I want anything deeper, I will just layer it up and just sort of pop a couple of layers of tape on together. So I usually just cut a piece off that's decided to get friendly with my tools, like so, and then pop it on here. And we'll just put 3 strips on this just to get it nice and secure. And then anything that's left, I will pop back onto my foam dots there to keep it for use again. So if we take off the liner, we can get this one put on the card then, and then we just need to do the decorating. And I wasn't sure when I started out with this what I wanted to decorate with, but it sort of came together by itself. It's got the paper, I think it's got quite an industrial look, and again with the colour scheme as well, I thought, right, we'll go with the cogs this time. So again, you could go straight in the middle. I decided to go at a slight angle. Okay, for me that likes straight, this is actually quite good. And what I am going to do just before I do that is pop a little bit of ink round the edge here, just to define that edge. And this is just my vintage photo, which again sits on the desk at the side of me. It's one that I go to quite often for edging, and it's just going to help it stand out away from that background paper. So that one can go back up there. And yeah, that's going to actually work a little bit better to just lift it. That's better off the background. So I'm going to pop it at an angle, sort of a little jaunty angle in the middle there, like so. Now, because my tape didn't go right to the very edge, we've actually got the facility now to sort of pop things underneath. So what I did was cut out loads of cogs just out of black ink. These are just dies again from my stash, so you know, whatever you have handy. If you don't have the cogs, you could put stars in, are a good one for masculine makes, little button dies, anything like that. Or you could use proper buttons. I sometimes use those on masculine makes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a couple of them in half. So let me take the little ones off. I'm going to follow what I did before, and I've got a couple of the small ones at the top there, like so, and then I've got one of these in this bottom corner, again that offsetting opposite corners here, and then these 2 larger ones I'm actually going to cut right through the center of them, like so. And the same with that one. Let's have a look. It's the yeah, we'll go that way through that one. And then I'm going to use these as tuck them under the edges of the design. So that top one, and these have just been popped through my Xyron sticker maker, and I'm just going to slot them as if they're popping out from underneath the design now. So we've got that larger one, and then the other half of the larger one is going to go under the bottom here, like so. And then I've got half of the smaller one. I'm going to pop that one next to here, just tucking it under the edge there so that it looks as if it's peeking out. And then the other half of that one is going to come down the side here. And again, because that tape didn't come all the way to the edge, we can just tuck them underneath. And then I've got a couple of last ones. One's going to go there, and one is going to go just under the edge of this piece here, like so. And then these were actually the middles out of some of them. Some of the dies, that bigger one and this size one, had got a decent size centre. And again, you know, waste not, want not. I'm actually going to pop the larger one and then the smaller ones, just to create those little clusters. And again, you know, it's not necessary, you know me, attention to detail. And there we go. So we've got all those bits and pieces on. So that's pretty much the design. Let's just get rid of a few of these bits and pieces now. And Only thing that I added, as always, I don't usually put them on the sample because I don't always keep the ones that I make in the video. Sorry, I do put them on the sample card that I've made. So I've just added 3 black ones just to highlight that sentiment again and just bring it, just for me, it just brings everything together. You know, if you're not into the gems, it looks fine like this. You can omit that stage. And then I've got, because this one's actually going to go to my son-in-law, I've got my insert done at the ready. So I've gone with a piece of cream cardstock this time instead of the white, because we've gone with that sort of brown theme. The white was a little bit stark. Stamped a sentiment in the centre there. I've used my antique linen with the brush to go all the way around the edge here, just to create some shading around the edge. And then I've gone with the same 2 washi tapes as what I had on the front, and a selection of the little cogs again, just to bring it all together. And then I am going to pop, now then let me think. It's very thin cardstock, so I think what I'm going to do is pop some strips of double-sided tape on here. Sometimes, if it's very thin cardstock, the all-purpose glue can show through, and I don't want to risk, you know, something that I've made to actually gift to somebody. I don't want to risk that happening. So yeah, we'll just pop 2 or 3 strips of double-sided adhesive on, like so. And then I'll help it along the way with my glue dots. Yeah, it's just something to be aware of. If it's a very thin cardstock or a paper, occasionally, not always, but occasionally you'll get markings from the glue, which do usually disappear once it's dried properly. But I don't want to take any risks, as I say, with this one being made specially for someone to give it to them. So let's just get rid of the liner off there. And then what I'm going to do, because I want to make sure it is stuck properly, I'm just going to go with my glue dots across the gaps there. So we've got top and bottom, and then a little bit in each side there, to make sure that it, otherwise sometimes you get like that, almost like a ruttle underneath it. And then this one's just going to sit inside here. Again, that nice border. This is the 6x6 size to match what we did on the front. And then we can apply plenty of pressure here, certainly over those dots, and make sure that everything's stuck down. So that's my design today. I hope he likes it. It's my daughter's partner, so yeah, I usually do his card. I did one last year, I think. I'll try and link the one last year at the end of here. So again, masculine makes are something that sometimes people shy away from. I used to get asked a lot about, you know, what do you do for the guys? They don't seem to be as easy to make for. All I do is think like I do normally, but change the colour schemes. Blues, greens, neutrals, where you've got butterflies, you've got cogs, buttons, stars, things like that. You know, it doesn't have to be frilly. I've got washing tape instead of where I would probably normally use ribbon, something like that, or lace. So yeah, it's just thinking outside the box and converting a style that you might do normally into a more masculine theme. So if you've enjoyed that one today, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe so that you can see my future work or anything that you've picked up over the last year. And I will be back very soon with another tutorial for you guys. I've been working on some Easter crafts, I think, to come up shortly. So keep your eyes open for those, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye now.